All right, good evening once again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. I would like you to please, as you come in, let's know you are here. Let us know where you are joining in from. Send us your favorite emoji. Just, find a way to communicate with us so I know I'm not here alone. Okay, so let's go. Where are you joining us from? Would like to know. Where are you joining us from? Let us know where you are joining us from. Okay, Bimbo is joining us from Ekpe. Thank you. Aisha from Jibowu, Lagos. Thank you. Keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. Awa from Jos. Thank you. Carlo from Port Harcourt. Ashira from Abuja. Beautiful. Idowu from Kwara State. Wow. Thank you for joining us. All right, keep it coming. Keep it coming. Franca from Lagos. Thank you, Franca. Good to have you here. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Sheung from Lagos. Thank you, Sheung, for joining. Harriet from Lagos, Kilari from Port Harcourt. Thank you for joining, Kilari. Thank you, to have you here. Harriet from Lagos, thank you. Keep it coming, keep it coming, keep it coming. Adasa from Abuja. Thank you, Adasa, for joining us. Thank you. It's good to have you all here. I would like to also introduce myself to you. So my name is Mercy Oluwadamilalo Ajadi. I'm a certified youth and family life coach by World Coach Institute. I'm a graduate of the Rema Bible Institute, Oklahoma, affiliated to Nigeria. I'm a certified counselor as well, and also an associate practitioner of family systems engineering and a medical laboratory scientist by profession. I'm the founder of Crystal Brookside Solutions, CBIS, a human capacity development outfit committed to building youth, parents, and families for maximal growth and effectiveness. I'm passionate about young people, and I'm involved in training and mentoring them for over 10 years. I'm happily married to one man and a mother to three amazing trailblazing personalities. Once again, you're welcome to today's webinar titled Love and Relationship Mistakes That Teenagers Make and How Their Parents Can Help Them. At the end of this webinar, you would go away with the understanding of what those mistakes are. You'll be able to recognize red flags in teens' behaviors, indicating that teenagers may be experiencing relationship difficulties or making unhealthy choices. We are also going to explore proactive measures that parents can take to help their teenagers avoid common relationship mistakes and navigate effectively. Now, I remember something that happened some time ago. a 16-year-old teenager was brought to me, young girl, was brought to me by her mom for counseling. And when she came in, she was in a very traumatic state. And the mother told me that she was suspended for 2 weeks from school because she was caught on camera kissing a boy. And when she got home, her father got that report and he didn't take it lightly. So the father beat her into a pulp. So it took some time to get her to stabilize before we could go into counseling. Now, I want to ask you as a parent and as a teen mentor, when you are confronted with relationship issues regarding your teenagers, how do you handle them? If your teenager comes and tells you about their interest, their romantic interest in the opposite sex, what will you do? What emotions will you express? Will you be angry? Will you be disappointed? Will you feel that your reputation is at stake? Will you feel that your child is disgracing you or bringing shame to the family? I would like you to go to the comments section and just let me know how you would feel. What will you do? What emotions will you express if this was to happen to you? If your child was to bring this information to you? Let me know what emotions you will express. So what emotions will you express? Shock. Somebody said shock. Sheun said shock. Pamela said she will be disappointed. Disappointment in both myself and my child. Okay, what other expressions, what other emotions will you feel? I would like to know. Keep it coming. So those are the emotions some people have expressed. I believe many of us will express different emotions. But the truth is this, it's important for us as parents and as mentors to remember and to understand that teenagers are humans too. They are sexual beings and they are relational beings. As they experience puberty, a lot of changes occur within them. And amongst those changes is the fact that their interest in the opposite sex will intensify. In fact, I would like to put it this way. Their sexual being comes alive and is activated, so to speak. So the child becomes interested in the opposite sex. They begin to seek for connection. They begin to seek for intimacy. They begin to long for a sense of belonging. And it's also important for us to remember and to know that teenagers are very new in the school of life and also very new when it comes to love and relationships. So they actually are very clueless as to what to do. So you can imagine teenagers venturing into love and relationship with no guideline, no blueprints, nobody to support them. And they are just left on their own to navigate this new territory all by themselves. What do you think the outcome is likely to be? Because that's exactly what happened to our teenagers. They are left on their own, and I can tell you that young people spend a great deal of their time thinking about, talking about, and being in relationships. And when I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about both platonic and romantic relationship. And many times adults don't pay attention to it. We trivialize it. We just dismiss it. And we are like, they should find a way to deal with it. We assume they should know what to do. Like we just said, many of us are even angry that they feel the way they do. But research and studies have shown that by the time teenagers are getting into from their early adolescence to mid-adolescence, they are preoccupied with their relationships as it were. So you see them spending more time with their friends than they do with their family members. You see them, many of them get involved with boyfriend, girlfriend relationship. They get involved with hookups and all manner of relationship. But the point is that they are preoccupied with their relationships at that time. And it's not something for us to overlook. It's something for us to pay attention to. Now, interestingly, the quality of the relationships that they have is directly proportional to the knowledge and the skill that they have in that regard. The quality of this relationship also impacts heavily on their self-esteem and their self-worth. It also affects how they perceive people, how they perceive life, and even how they show up in subsequent relationships, especially long-lasting relationships like marriage. So it's very important for us to begin to prioritize love and relationship education for our teenagers. Because if we leave them to just do what they know to do, that is why they make a lot of mistakes. An average teenager actually doesn't know how to distinguish between a wrong behavior and a right behavior. They don't know how to distinguish between a healthy and unhealthy relationship. So a lack of this understanding will make them to handle and tolerate relationships that put them at risk. I've seen teenagers who misinterpret attention, abuse, manipulation for love. So parents, teen mentors, this is a clarion call for us to wake up and understand that there is a huge gap and that we must fill. And that gap has to do with teaching love and relationship education to our teenagers to avoid them making these mistakes. And the goal is to help them to experience love and relationship in a way that leaves them whole and not broken. So let me quickly jump into the crux of the matter. I would like to first and foremost, share with us the concept, just a sneaky peek of the concept of relationships and love. I remember having a group coaching section for teenagers some time ago. And I asked them this question like an icebreaker. I asked them, how many of you are in a relationship? And surprisingly, in a room with up to 50 teenagers, only 3 of them showed that they were in a relationship. Only 3. And why was that so? Because to them, relationship is primarily about romance. Relationship is many times referred to as romance. So many of them were not in romantic relationships. So every other relationship they were involved in with their parents, with their siblings, with their schoolmate, classmate, neighbors, they didn't consider, even with God, they didn't consider those as relationship. So it tells me something, that there is a wrong concept that young people have about relationships, and that is why we need to teach them. Now, when the concept of a thing is wrong, its practice cannot be right. When teenagers don't have a proper understanding of what relationship is, they cannot practice it effectively. And when we are talking relationship, it's important for parents to begin to help their teenagers to understand that relationship is a broad range. It's a broad spectrum, and romantic relationship is just a very small part of that spectrum, of that range. So a relationship is basically a connection, an association, or an involvement between 2 or more people, groups, or things. It describes how they feel and behave towards each other, the way they are connected or the way they deal with each other. And when we're talking relationship, we are talking about a lot of things coming into play. Connection, interaction. Some relationship can last for a lifetime. Some relationship can just be for a season. And we have different types of relationships. The ones we have with our family members, the one we have with our friends, professional relationship, community relationship. All of this is what makes relationship. And when teenagers understand that relationship is not just about romance, it will demystify this concept and help them to understand that what they are looking for in romantic relationship, they can find it. In fact, their need for love and relationship cannot be well taken care of by romance or by romantic relationships. So let's quickly look at the concept of love. The concept of love. Now, love is another word that has been misconstrued. It has been misinterpreted and abused in different ways. But the truth is that love is the underlying principle that governs relationship at different levels. Every relationship that you are going to have, that teenagers are going to have, has an underlying principle, which is called love. But love has its proper definition. Love has different channels of expression. Love has its purposes, its processes, and right application for different times and seasons of life and human interaction. All of these are the things that teenagers need to know. Love has its qualities and make us recognize it when we see it. Love also has its template that governs what we give, how we give, and how we receive love. Teenagers need to be taught this fundamental concept of love and relationships so they can meet their emotional need for love and relationships in a way that leaves them whole and not broken. That is the emphasis. The goal is that they will meet their need for love and relationship in a way that leaves them whole and not broken. Now, let's quickly look into the mistakes that teenagers are likely to make when it comes to love and relationships. The first one is they are quick to misinterpret infatuation, lust, sexual attraction, and sex as love. Many teenagers believe that love is a feeling. So when they're infatuated, when they are lusting, they call it love, because the truth is that they have been programmed by media, the pop culture, to define love in that manner. They also equate sex with love. So you see many young people giving sex in exchange for love. You will agree with me that we are living in a highly sexualized culture. Teenagers give sex in exchange for love. They give sex so they can keep a relationship. They give sex so they can continue to have that feeling that they are having. They give sex to sustain a relationship. They give sex so that someone can love them. Another mistake they make, which I see amongst many young people, especially the girls, is that they feel obligated to give in to the demands of the opposite sex that is their love interest or their romantic interest. They give in not because they give in to those demands, not because it is what they are comfortable doing, but they give in to those demands because they don't want to lose that person. They don't want to lose their love interest, and they don't want to do anything that will make this feeling that they are having and experiencing to go away. So you see them do anything, even when such demands is contrary to their values. Have you wondered why nude pictures and sex taping is a trend now amongst the young people? Recently, I had someone told me that her sister, 13-year-old, was having issues. This is something that we already know. It's trending all over. 13 years old. She was expelled from school because her nude pictures were all over social media. She had to be expelled from school. This is how far they can go. These are some of the mistakes that they make. The next mistake that they make is that they are quick to give labels to relationships. Now, when it comes to relationship, there are basic principles that govern its operations. And one of those principles is the principle of hierarchy. And that tells us that for each level of relationship, there are characteristics that defines those levels, there are expectations for those levels, and there are responsibilities. That's the mistake that teenagers make, is that they are quick to give people labels who are not deserving of such labels. And at the end of the day, because these people don't meet their expectation, because the expectation become unrealistic, because these people will not be able to meet those expectations. So they get frustrated and hurt. That's a huge mistake. Have you heard teenagers talk a lot about besties? They meet someone, many of them that are, because they are digital natives, they spend a lot of their time in the digital space. And They are quick to think that the people that is following them are their friends. And that is why they can do anything for them. But they don't understand that those people are not their friend. They are just contacts. But they treat them like friends. Teenagers treat people who are mere acquaintances and they call them besties. So these are the errors that we need to pay attention to and begin to correct. When you hear your child talking about bestie, do you caution them? At some point in my home, I know one of our children used to, she was so fond of that word. But by the time we started enlightening her, giving her knowledge on the principles of relationship and the hierarchy in relationship, it became clearer to her that you cannot just call people besties just because the name sounds sweet or because it's a trendy word. You have to be clear about who you are choosing as your friend and what level of friendship do you have with this person before you can qualify them and give them that label as a bestie. Now, the next relationship mistake that they make is inability to clearly define their values. Values are so big. It's a big deal when it comes to relationships because your values is what will help you to take a stand for what is important for you. But many teenagers, because their values are not clearly defined, they stand for nothing, and so they fall for everything. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they don't want. So because they don't know what they want, their friends are the ones that dictate to them what they should want. So they act as spectators in relationship they should be responsible and accountable for. The other people in that relationship becomes the driver and the dictator of what goes on in such relationships. They lose every sense of self because they don't know what they want. But values, with the right values, they should be able to selectively choose their friends. They should be able to know who should come into their circle, the outer, the inner, and the innermost circles. These are the things that values will help them to do. But many times they don't have it. And that is why it is a huge mistake. So they are in relationships without a clear understanding of what they want. The next mistake that I see them making is that they pursue romantic love instead of platonic relationship. Now, this is something parents, we need to pay attention to this. We need to help our teenagers to understand that romantic love is not superior. Teenagers believe and think and act like romantic love is superior to platonic relationship. They allow their need for romantic relationship override a need for a platonic relationship. They are pressured by external influences to pursue romantic relationship and place a lot of priority on it as a way to meet the emotional need for love. But should I tell you that romantic relationship does not have the capacity to meet the emotional need for love? It does not have what it takes. Romantic relationship is just one aspect of all of the relationships that we are supposed to benefit from. It's very important that we begin to teach teenagers about the need to, cultivate platonic relationship. I know and I tell teenagers that if they don't know how to love platonically, if there is any word like that, if they don't engage successfully in platonic relationship, they will fail in romantic relationship. Because all the skills, when God created us, He didn't create us into romantic relationship as it were. That is why we are exposed into the family system. That is the first line of our relationship. And that is not where we experience romantic love. That is where we experience platonic relationship. And the skills that we learn from this relationship is the skills that we will use to navigate romantic relationships when the time is ripe for teenagers. So when they focus on romantic relationship, they are doing it themselves a lot of harm. Now, the next mistake that teenagers make is inability to recognize unhealthy relationships. Young people, like I said, they lack the ability to know what constitutes right and wrong behaviors in any relationship. Without a clear understanding of what makes a healthy relationship, young people are likely to tolerate relationships that put them at risk. The risk associated with unhealthy adolescent relationship can be minimized by helping them develop skills for healthy relationships. I've seen teenagers who misinterpret abuse, control, manipulation as love because they don't know how to distinguish between these two. They don't know how to distinguish between unhealthy and healthy relationships. Another mistake is that they relinquish ownership of their lives to other people. This is so important. Many teenagers don't know how to take ownership of themselves, how to be responsible for themselves. And they relinquish that to other people. And by so doing, they lose every sense of self. And that is absolutely unhealthy for them. Now, they find themselves in relationships where they are not free. They walk on eggshells. They are not free to express themselves. They are not free to make decisions for themselves. They are not free to make choices that aligns with their moral preferences, their beliefs, and their values. They are not free to do so. They allow their friends to be the ones to determine for them who they should relate with, how they should conduct themselves, how they should talk, where they should go, how they should dress. That is totally unhealthy, and it's a huge mistake that teenagers make in love and in relationships. Now, let's quickly get into this part. Here, I'm going to be talking about the red flags in teens' behavioral patterns. The red flags. These are behaviors that we need to look out for in our teenagers. These behaviors are indicative of, they indicate that they are either experiencing difficulties in their relationship or they may be making unhealthy choices. So I need you to pay attention to these red flags. And remember, I said, when we are talking relationship, it's not just about romantic relationship. It cuts across all the relationship with your teenagers. So the first one is what I label the obsessed. The obsessed, that's a behavioral pattern. When you see a teenager that I call the obsessed, they are teenagers who become overly preoccupied with their relationship to the detriment of what is important to them or the other aspects of their life. Such relationships are obsessive and they are unhealthy attachments to the object of their passion. They are captured and they are lost in this love interest, so much so that they lose interest in what used to be important to them. They lose motivation for life. They lose every sense of focus and purpose. They neglect and put less priority on what used to be important to them. Now, these are some of the caution signs to look out for. Please, as we are going through these red flags, I want you to cast your mind to your teenagers. Have you identified any of these red flags with them? Because it's going to help you to, begin to act upon some of this knowledge. So some of the caution signs that you can look out for in this red flag is that the academic performance or interest in hobbies begins to decline. They begin to lack focus and concentration. They begin to give a lot of attention to their physical appearance. They become secretive and defensive. They begin to tell a lot of lies and they dream. And these signs are indications that is common, is indication that the teenager is likely to be in a romantic relationship, likely, or infatuated. Or they may also be in a platonic relationship that is unhealthy. Because I have dealt with many teenagers, their issues are not romantic relationship. Their issues are their peers, the normal same-sex platonic relationship, as it were. That's where they have their issues. And this can also play out in such relationship. The second red flag is what I call the relationship drama king or queen. These are teenagers that are quick to give people relationship labels they are not qualified to bear. They are unstable in their relationships. They are unable to build and sustain relationships. They don't know their place in people's life and how to act accordingly. There are people that are quick to call people besties. And the caution sign in this relationship that is filled with is filled with drama. Many times they will tell you it's complicated. They are constantly fighting. There is bickering in such relationships. There is constant frustration, anger, dissatisfaction, and they are unhappy because they are always in and out, having totally unstable. This red flag is indications. They are indicated in situations where teenagers lack basic understanding of the principles that governs relationships. The next red flag is what I call the conformist. The conformist. The conformist is the one that prioritizes what other people will say or think over what they want. Their opinions is not important to them. They are clueless and not care about what is important to them. So what people say is what they pay attention to. They have this bandwagon mentality. You see them following trends. You have teenagers like that. Can you identify any teenager like that in your space? What they have is never enough for them. They want to get the latest clothes. They want to make the latest hair, the trendy hair. They are always prioritizing and wanting to conform. They rely on other people to know what to do for themselves. The caution signs to look out for is that they are people pleasing and they're unable to say no or have boundaries. They are anything goes kind of a people. They are people pleasers. And they are typical amongst teenagers who lack values. Now, the next red flag is what I call the romantic. The romantic is the one that is concerned about romantic relationship. They place a high premium on romance and they associate with people who share such values. They are constantly changing boyfriend, girlfriends, in and out like that. Some of the caution signs that you see with this red flag is that they are flirty in behavior and appearance. They are quite secretive and they are discontented. They can be sexually active, yes. So you need to pay attention when you see this. Indications, is frequent among teenagers who prioritize romantic love instead of platonic relationships. Oh, this is beautiful. This is another red flag to look out for. I see this many times amongst teenagers. Is the one I call the savior. The savior. The savior is the person who has that savior mindset. They excuse, they justify, and they exonerate, rationalize misbehavior and maltreatments in relationships. They seek to be there for others except for themselves because they believe they need them. The saviors are those teenagers that you see tolerate risky behaviors and fall into trouble more often than not. There was a viral video that was in circulation some time ago about a teenager who was bullied by a fellow teenager. She sat still there and this other schoolmate was slapping her left, right, and center, and she didn't do anything. So when we see the saviors, they are people who can tolerate risky behaviors, and they find themselves more often than not in abusive and unhealthy relationships. The caution signs to look out for is that they are people pleasing. They lack boundaries and the ability to say no. They are susceptible to abuse and they are easy prey for abusive relationships. And it's quite common among teenagers who are unable to recognize unhealthy relationships. Another red flag to pay attention to is the one I call the controlled. The controlled. They express patterns that indicate they are being controlled in their relationships without being aware. They find it difficult to freely express their opinion, their thoughts, or make choices that are based on their moral values, preferences, and beliefs. They are controlled. They don't know how to say no. They don't have a voice of their own. They don't even know how to distinguish between being abused, and actually being cared for. They are controlled. And some of the caution signs to look out for is extreme fluctuations in their mood or behavior. They experience abuse, anxiety, and depression, and they are also very lonely. This shows that the teenager may have relinquished ownership of their lives to other people. Another red flag to pay attention to is the one I call the unkept. Now, we all know that teenagers are learning how to master personal hygiene and personal grooming. But poor hygiene or self-care can be normal. Yes, it can be normal behavior for teenagers. However, when you begin to see teenagers who are not paying attention to regular bathing, brushing their teeth, taking care of themselves, because see, teenagers like to look good too, because they have to impress their friends. So when you see a teenager who is totally not concerned about how they look, it's a call for concern. Now, another indication that points you to the fact that they are unkept is their environment. When their room are messy constantly, it should tell you something. It's also a sign of poor self-care. Poor self-care, yes. And so when you have a combination of an unkept self and environment, particularly if the messiness is extreme, then it can be a reflection of the state of the mind of that child. And it can tell you that something is not sitting well with this child. So the child is like, if everything is not going on well with me within, why bother with the external? So is an indication that there is trouble somewhere, and you need to pay attention. Don't dismiss it. You need to pay attention. The caution signs to look out for in this red flag are they are isolated, they express anxiety, they can be depressed, sad, and lonely. And this may indicate that they are struggling with emotional and mental distress, or any of the other behavioral patterns that we have mentioned. So I hope you can still hear me at this point. Please let me know if you can still hear me.
I hear you loud and clear.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So let's quickly look at what can we do? How do we help our teenagers to navigate these mistakes? This first one is to cultivate the culture of check-in. The culture of check-in is something that every parent must cultivate, as you need to make it part of your routine, because truthfully, a lot of what is going on with your teenager is something you can identify when you check in. Checking in on your teenager regularly will help you to identify when they are okay, to first and foremost know when they are normal, when everything is okay with them. And then it can begin to point you to when things are not normal. Checking in on your teenagers regularly helps the teenager to begin to open up to you, because they can see that you are genuinely interested in them. You are not just trying to, be that helicopter kind of a parent. No, they can see that you are genuinely interested. And when they know you are genuinely interested, they can trust you, and they can begin to open up to you and begin to share with you. I can tell you that working with my own children, one of the things that has helped me with them is checking. Checking in will help you to see a lot with your teenagers. Imagine entering your teenager's room. You knock, you open, and you saw them lost in thoughts. Lost in thoughts, and, because, yes, they may have asked you to come in, but they were not expecting you. Or you bump into them crying. weeping or looking totally disgruntled. Checking in is a culture that I want you all to cultivate because it will help you to identify problems before they escalate. Now, the next thing you need to do, see, checking in is something that we don't have all the time for me to sit with you and tell you what I have unraveled just by checking in on my children. You'll be able to find out, discover when they are dealing with something and when something is dealing with them. One of the things that bothers me with teenagers is that if they don't trust an environment, if they are not safe in a space, they are not going to open up to you and they are not going to come to you of their own accord. You are the one to reach out to them. And that is why checking in is a culture you must cultivate because your teenager will not reach out to you. You are the one to reach out to them. And you do that by checking in. And you have to be very sincere when you are checking in on them. That is when they can open up to you. Another important thing you need to learn to do is having open and effective communication with your teenagers. Now, when I'm talking about communication, parents, please, even mentors, don't go just being about talking, lecturing, instructing. No. Communication is that time that you sit with your teenager. Your goal is to listen. Your goal is to observe. Your goal is to decipher what the child is saying and what they are not saying. Your goal is to listen so actively like that you can reflect. You can listen perceptively to be able to capture what is going on with your child. Effective communication is so powerful. I remember a mom who called me a few days ago. She called me to tell me that she's worried about her 14-year-old son, whom they just moved from school. This child was schooling in the West. So they now decided to move the child to Port Harcourt. So they now, in this new school, the child is totally uncomfortable. So the child has been talking to the mother, telling her that, Mom, there's a lot going on in my school. There's a lot going on with my classmates. I don't know if the school authorities are not aware, but there's a lot of vices. They are smoking, they are having sex. When it's a boarding school, when there is light out, the young people, they will go to the toilet and they are engaging in sex. They are abusing drugs and hard substances. The boy was just telling the mom his present experiences in this new school. So the mother said he has been paying attention, he has been listening, but they still want him to stay in that school. But she decided to speak with me. So one of the things I was happy about with that mother is that she said she continued to listen to this boy. And because she has been listening to him, it's beginning to dawn on her that what this boy is saying is something they need to pay attention to. So she came to me and we talked about it. And some of the emphasis this boy was laying to the mom is that, Mom, I'm 14 years old. I am too young to be exposed to these things. I'm too young. Now, as parents, our teenagers will try to communicate things to us. But the responsibility is on us to either listen to them or drive them away or trivialize it, dismiss it and say, what do you know? Just go and continue. Are there not other students in that school? Why are you making a big issue out of nothing? I told that mother, listen to this child. For a 14-year-old to be telling you that, Mom, I'm too young to be exposed to this kind of vices. There's something about the values this boy has imbibed that is contrary to the current he's being exposed to. So the mom and the father, they paid attention to this boy, they dug deeper, and they made a decision to take this boy back to the school that they changed him from. And everything was okay. So there is need for us to listen to our children. It's part of communication. Don't just go thinking you have a monopoly to talk. No, you don't have monopoly to talk. Your child have many things to say, but you need to pay attention. And one of the things you need to do when you are communicating with your child is to ensure that they are heard, they are accepted, and they feel supported. That is one of the things that will make them to be free with you and speak and continue to, express themselves to you. One of the other thing we need to do is to normalize seeking for help. Many times teenagers find themselves in relationships that, is something that they don't know how to navigate. But because parents or adults in their life have made them to think that looking for help is something that weak people do, is a sign of weakness. So they bottle those challenges in, even when they know there are some people they can speak to. Because sometimes your teenagers doesn't want to speak to you. But if you can introduce them to trusted adults that they can talk to, it is okay. Teach them to normalize seeking for help, because they may not want to talk to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if they feel that talking to someone else is wrong, they will keep it and they will rather die. Have you ever wondered why so many teenagers are committing suicide? Why? They have many adults in their space, but they are not talking to anybody. They have issues, but they are not seeking help. And they will rather die, commit suicide, or do something destructive than speak to anybody. We need to teach our children the concept of love and its definitions. See, love is the foundation upon which every relationship is built on. Whether it is from the home, family relationship, whether it is professional relationship, whether it is relationship with their schoolmate, it has a foundation on love. But we need to teach our children the right concept of love, because the media is teaching them the wrong concept. And like I have said, if the concept of love is wrong, the practice of it cannot be right. So we need to teach our children and guide them to understand the components that govern relationships and love. Now, there are so many things about love that we have to teach our children, which we will not be able to go into, but we need to let them understand what love is all about and how this, work hand in hand with relationship, and how they can make the best out of it by knowing the right things about this concept and principles. Now, we need to teach them self-love and self-respect. Many times teenagers struggle, especially teenagers from the Christian perspective, or yes, from the Christian background. They struggle with loving people. So they argue about, but the Bible says we should love one another. Please, parents, please, teen mentors, let's teach our teenagers that yes, the Bible may say we should love one another. It did not say we should love people more than we love ourselves. So let's teach them to have self-love, to have self-respect. They may not be able to, control what people do, but they need to know what they can accept and what they cannot accept from people. The way they treat themselves will determine how other people will treat them. This is so important. We need to teach our teenagers that they don't need to depend on other people for their survival, so to speak. They don't need to depend on other people for validation. They don't need to depend on other people to experience emotional and mental stability. They don't need to depend on other people for approval. They don't need to depend on other people for their peace of mind. They need to learn to love themselves and respect themselves. This is so important. They don't need to depend on people for their own happiness. Yes. They don't need to wait for their friends to approve of everything they are doing before they can know what is right for them. This is so important. Now, one of the other things that I also need to quickly say to us is that we need to teach teenagers personal responsibility. Many teenagers, the way they go about relationship and making decisions is as if their life does not belong to them. We need to teach teenagers that in every relationship they find themselves, they need to ensure that the choices that they make aligns with their moral values, their beliefs, and their preferences. That they have a duty and a responsibility to make choices that work for them and not against them. Personal responsibility. Now, the next thing we need to teach them is to expose them on time to resources. Parents, you need resources that will help your teenagers to navigate love and relationship. And that is why we created Love and Relationships Mastery course for teenagers. This is a course I have taught in schools, in religious organizations, and other youth constituencies. I've taught this course for years. And I can tell you that many teenagers who embrace this course, they come back, they have a different kind of enlightenment, a different kind of awareness. Yes, I remember having this course in a particular school. And at the end of the program, I asked questions. And one of the teenagers, in responding to one of the questions I asked, she said, Ma, that she said that eros is an error for teenagers. We were talking about romantic relationships. She said eros is an error for teenagers. Teenagers has no business with eros, because in that course, we were able to expand to them the destructive, perspective of eros, the way the world, the media has programmed them to pursue eros over and above many other love expressions. So this course is something that we have put together to help your teenagers to navigate love and relationships successfully. I will always say this. Aristotle said something quite profound. He said that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. There are wrong concepts of love and relationship from media, pop culture, peers, sometimes even from home, from family relatives, and even from parents. I told you, for the people who were here in the last webinar, I shared a story with you of a teenager who was in love with the father and who have had several abortions for the father. If that child has an understanding, has been taught love and relationship education, she will not do that. She will know that this is wrong. She will look for help. She will seek to ensure that that came to an end. That relationship is something that she will not nurture or pursue. Yes, but because she didn't know. So this is an online course. Our Love and Relationship Mastery course for teenagers is an online course, specially packaged and prepared for teenagers. In that course, they are going to be empowered to understand the concept of love and relationships so as to thrive in their relationships. They are going to understand the dynamics of love versus illusions. They are going to gain valuable insights into the intricacies of healthy and unhealthy relationships. They are going to understand the channels of love expressions. They are going to discover healthy ways to meet emotional need for love, because they have to find ways to meet it. Yes. They are also going to explore romantic love and teenage brain, and they are all going to learn how to deal with infatuation and crush. Yes. They're also going to gain valuable tools and skills to build thriving relationship. Like I said earlier, the whole purpose of this course is to help teenagers to, meet their emotional need for love and relationship in a way that leaves them whole and not broken. If you look around our world today, you will agree with me that we have many broken adults who are also raising teenagers who are broken. We want to nip it in the bud by bringing solution, and this is the solution we can provide, because we are looking at a bigger picture. If teenagers can have a good understanding of love and relationship and begin to make healthy choices, it will help them by the time they get into the dating scene and begin to make choice for life partners. They will have a holistic perspective on how these things should be. So this course is a course that is worth 20,000, but we are going to give it to you at 6,999 naira. You have that opportunity and you need to do it now. The payment details will be sent to the platform so you can see and make payments. Now, we also have a bonus offer of one-on-one coaching for 1 month for teenagers. Many parents are already hopping in on this bonus offer, and you cannot say that this is not good. This is good. One-on-one coaching for 1 month. I will have that time with your teenager. We are going to, look into what their challenges are, what their needs are, and be able to help them. So parents, I am inviting you to quickly take advantage of this course. Don't sleep over it. This is not something you need to overthink. 6,999 naira is some money that we can spend easily in the salon, we can spend easily at the suya spot, we can spend easily on so many things. But this is an investment that you need to make for your child, and you need to do it now. You need to do it now. It's a beautiful offer, and I wouldn't want you to sleep on this offer, okay? If you snooze, you will lose. So take advantage right here and right now. Now, in conclusion, I would say this. If the concept of love and relationship is wrong, the practice of it cannot be right. I've said this over and over, but we need to get it. We have a duty and a responsibility to teach our teenagers about love and relationships to avoid these mistakes. There are so many other mistakes that they make, but these are the few that I could quickly bring to us. It is an error to assume they should know what to do. This is why they struggle. Many mistakes will be avoided if they know better. Trust me, they will do better. Yes. So at this point, we come to the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for staying true with me. I would like to take our questions now. So if you have questions, if you have contributions, if you want to say something, I think we can call it a day at this point. Thank you so much, everyone. Do have a pleasant night rest. Bye for now.